I showed up 30 minutes early, holding the dealership key fob in my hand. It was in a small velvet-lined box, the kind they use for fancy pens. Inside was the key to her new sedan, a sensible, safe car with all the modern features. The salesman had smiled when I signed the papers. "She's a lucky daughter," he said. I had just nodded. It cost nearly my entire year's pension, but I didn't hesitate. "You do what you must for your children." Chloe opened the door with the distracted air of someone expecting a package. Her smile was a brief flash, but her eyes were already somewhere else. She didn't look at the box in my hand. She looked past me, toward the driveway, as if checking for a different, more important arrival. "Surprise," I said, stepping into the hallway. "It's the silver one, just like you wanted." She stepped back, her body language tight, and I walked past her into the living room she and David had decorated with my help, the one with the big bay window and the cream-colored carpet I'd paid to have installed when they first moved in. I remember wiring the security deposit and first 2 months' rent, kissing her on the cheek as she told me how this was the start of everything. I had taken $20,000 from my retirement account and told myself it was an investment in her happiness. "Put it there," she said now, gesturing toward the coffee table. No hug, no real thank you. The small box felt heavier than it had a moment ago. I placed it down, flipped open the lid, and pushed it toward her. I tried again. I thought we could go for a drive. Take it around the neighborhood, get a feel for it. Chloe crossed her arms. "We need to talk before David gets home." "Of course," I said. "Whatever's on your mind." I hoped she would pick up the key, feel the weight of it. She didn't. The air in the house smelled like lavender and something else, something tense. I smoothed down my dress and followed her to the dining room. She remained standing. I took a seat at the table. The silence felt long and heavy. If you're listening to this story, I'd love to know where you're from or what time it is where you are. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure you're following, because I'm here every day with a new one. "I've been thinking about our next step," she said. Her voice was level, but it had a rehearsed quality to it. She'd been using that tone for a few years, whenever a conversation was about to turn into a request. "A car is nice, Mom. It really is. But it's not what we need." "Tell me what you need," I said. "Just say the word and we'll figure it out. A new water heater. A trip for your anniversary. I'll make it happen." Her eyes finally met mine. They were clear and direct. "The one thing we need," she said, her voice dropping a little, "is for you to get out of the way." I heard the words perfectly. The house was still. No cars on the street, no children playing next door. Just that sentence, dropped into the quiet room. A feeling like a cold draft went through my chest. "What?" I asked. The word was barely a whisper. "What did you say?" She didn't even blink. "I mean it. We're trying to build a life. We're trying to get pre-approved for the house on Sycamore Lane, and we're short on the down payment. This car, it's a temporary fix for a problem we don't have. It would be easier if you were just gone." My hands were flat on the table. I watched a tiny tremor begin in my left pinky. I thought of the key fob in its box, the little silver logo gleaming. I thought of sitting in the financial aid office 30 years ago, filling out loan paperwork so she could go to college without the weight of debt I'd carried. "I called to help," I said, "not to be in the way." "You called to remind me what I owe you," she said sharply. "You give things, and then you linger, like you're waiting for a receipt. I keep track because it's what I do. It was my job for 40 years as a school secretary." I swallowed. "But it's not to hold over your head." She let out a sharp sigh and sat down opposite me. "I want to be independent, Mom. Independent people don't have their 70-year-old mother buying them cars. Independent people don't get calls at 7 in the morning asking if they've checked their tire pressure. I call because I'm an early riser. I told you, you don't have to answer. I don't want to have to manage your feelings about it. I don't want your gifts if they come with expectations. I don't want to owe you anything else." The sunlight coming through the window made a bright rectangle on the polished wood of the table. A dust mote danced in the light, slow and unbothered. I wished it was an hour earlier before I'd driven over. I wished I could take the key back, reverse the whole day. "Is this about the house fund?" I asked gently. "If you needed more for the down payment, You just had to say so. We could go to the bank together. She finally looked at the key on the coffee table. It's not about one thing, she said. I told you what we need. You asked. I asked what you needed, I said. Not for me to disappear. Her mouth curved into something that wasn't a smile. Don't be so dramatic. I'm not saying you should drop off the face of the earth. I'm just saying it would be simpler. Simpler. The word felt like a tiny stone in my shoe. David's car pulled into the driveway. The engine cut. A door slammed. Chloe stood, brushing invisible dust from her pants, her voice dropping. Let's not make this a thing, okay? I don't want to ruin the evening. You have plans? I asked. Just dinner, she said. It's fine. It wasn't fine. But I nodded. My throat felt too tight to speak. Not at church, not at the parent-teacher conferences, not with my daughter. The front door opened. David came in carrying a briefcase, his face tired from a long day. He smiled when he saw me, then his eyes flickered to Chloe and back to me. The smile faded. Eleanor, he said. You're here. I brought the car, I said, my voice sounding distant. The key is on the table. Oh, great, he said, with the forced enthusiasm of a man who just walked into a room full of tension. Chloe walked past him, picked up the velvet box, and stared at the key as if it were a bill she couldn't pay. Can you put this in the drawer? She asked him, not meeting my eyes. I stood up. I should be going, I said. Mom, Chloe began. It's all right, I said, keeping my voice even. You two have your evening. I'll call you later in the week. We can talk then, when things are calmer. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She knew when to let a scene play out and when to just let it end. David took the box and put it in a drawer in the hall table. At the door, I paused. I never wanted you to feel burdened, I said. I wanted you to feel supported. There's a difference. She didn't reply. Her gaze went right through me as if I were a ghost. Outside, the evening air was cool. I walked to my own car, a 10-year-old sedan that ran just fine. I walked slowly, deliberately, the way I'd learned to move through crowded school hallways. The drive back to my apartment was automatic. I kept my hands at 10 and 2. Signal. Turn. Brake. Park. When I killed the engine, the silence in the car was deafening. Inside, I sat at the small kitchen table where I paid my bills. The little clock on the wall ticked. I pulled a fresh legal pad from a drawer. I wrote the word house at the top. Under it, I wrote the number she had mentioned needing for the down payment, the number she was willing to wish me gone for. $75,000. I drew a neat box around it. My hands had stopped shaking. I didn't write anything else. Not right away. Numbers usually calmed me, but I didn't want to be calm yet. I got up, made a cup of chamomile tea, and drank it standing by the window. I tried to understand what kind of person tells their mother to get out of the way. I wondered if I had planted that seed myself, with years of too much watering. When the tea was gone, I washed the mug and went back to the table. I wrote car and the number 32,000 next to it, then scratched it out with a single firm line. This wasn't going to be about the car. This wasn't going to be a list of grievances. This was about understanding the architecture of my life so I could see where the foundation was cracking. My phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. Don't call tonight. We need space. Another one came a second later. And don't text David about this. And a third. You always make things bigger than they are. Just let it go. I typed and deleted 3 different replies. In the end, I just wrote, okay. I put the phone on the counter, screen down. From my window, I could see the park across the street, the big oak tree just starting to turn for the fall. I remembered the first apartment my husband and I shared, the tiny kitchen with the window that looked out onto a brick wall. The way the morning sun would hit one small patch of it. I remembered Chloe at 10, carefully icing a cake for my birthday, her tongue stuck out in concentration. When she finished, she'd looked up at me, her face beaming. Look, Mama, she'd said. It's perfect. At 8 o'clock, I lay on my sofa and closed my eyes, waiting for the knot in my stomach to loosen. It didn't. At 10, I got up, turned on the desk lamp, and pulled the legal pad toward me again. On a fresh sheet, I printed my name at the top, Eleanor Vance. Below it, I wrote 4 things. 1. Call the bank tomorrow. 2. Ask about joint account access. 3. Ask what paperwork is needed to be removed as a cosigner. I added a 4th line and stared at it. 4. Define what is support and what is sacrifice. The words looked stark and unfamiliar, like a name I hadn't heard in years. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't know. I ignored it. Then a text from my neighbor. Everything all right? Saw Chloe's new car. Looks beautiful. I didn't answer that either. I didn't want to feed my pain to the world in little pieces. I took a shower, the hot water a small comfort. I put on a clean nightgown. I sat back at the table, pulled the pad closer, and began a list of questions for a lawyer, just in case. I wasn't sure if I needed one. I wasn't sure of anything, except that the ground had shifted under my feet. Near midnight, I made more tea and took a single cookie from the jar. I brought them to the table and wrote one more sentence at the bottom of the page, under the lists about banks and lawyers and sacrifice. I wrote it slowly, my handwriting as neat as it was when I wrote attendance reports. Tomorrow, I start building a new house. For me. The morning sun was bright. I pulled out the box of old files I keep in the closet. Tax returns, old insurance policies, receipts I'd kept for no good reason. I made 3 piles on the floor. Her education, her home, her emergencies. I left a 4th space open for everything else. I dialed Chloe's number once, then hung up before the first ring. This was my work to do alone. First pile, education. I found the tuition statements from her university. I remembered working weekends, tutoring high school kids, to cover the gaps the loans didn't. I wrote down $55,000 and the words, tuition shortfall. I underlined it. I pulled out another file, a receipt for a study abroad program. A photo was paperclipped to it, Chloe at 19 in front of the Eiffel Tower beaming. Paris, I wrote, and next to it, 7,000. The extra shifts I'd picked up that year came back to me, a phantom ache in my lower back. Second pile, home. The rental application I had co-signed. The check stubs for the first 2 months' rent and security. I added them up and wrote $6,000 apartment startup. I put the number in a box, a small container for a large gesture. I kept digging. I labeled a section, before adulthood. I listed the braces, the summer camps, the emergency room visit for the broken arm, the used car for her 16th birthday when her father's old one finally died. I let the numbers tell the story. At the bottom, I wrote a total, $120,000. I put a box around that too, and wrote childhood investments underneath it. I wanted the label to be clear. It wasn't a debt, it was a choice. Her wedding. I pulled out the file. The receipt from the caterer, the invoice from the photographer, the thank you note from the string quartet. I wrote $25,000 wedding contribution. I drew a small heart next to it because it had been a beautiful day. It was important to remember that. I would not let this new bitterness poison old joys. Now, the hard part. Support. I took a deep breath. At the top of a new page, I wrote, Financial Assistance, Adult. I made 2 columns. The first, Emergency Bailouts, and I wrote, $15,000. I remembered the day she called crying about the credit card debt. I had said, we'll fix it, and we had. The second column, Down Payment Fund, and next to it, $40,000. The joint savings account I had opened for her, the one I put a little in every month, for the house on Sycamore Lane. I turned a page. When David lost his job, I wrote, and next to it, $18,000. 10 mortgage payments from my own savings. I added kids' dental fund under that and wrote $5,000. I paused, rubbing the ink on the page. In the everything else space, I listed the small things that add up. The plane tickets for holidays, the new tires, the laptop that died mid-semester, the weekend getaways I'd funded so their marriage could have a moment to breathe. I drew a line. $20,000 miscellaneous gifts. It was probably more, but I didn't want to feel like I was punishing her. I added up the columns. I ran my finger under each number, my lips moving silently. My old secretary skills hadn't rusted. When I wrote the final number, I leaned back and let my hands rest in my lap. The grand total was over $300,000. I stared at the number. I touched the paper, gentle, as if it were a feverish forehead. Then I flipped the page and did what a financial planner had once told me to do in a free church seminar. If invested with modest returns, I wrote. I used a conservative number, not the wild promises you see on TV. The number I wrote next to it was nearly $500,000. I didn't circle it. I didn't need to. That number was just for me. I made tea. As the water boiled, I saw the velvet box for the new car key still sitting on my counter. I had apparently picked it up when I left her house. I took the key out, dropped it in the junk drawer, and threw the box in the trash. Then I took my mug to the table and dialed a number from memory. The church office. "Good morning, Eleanor," Martha said. "You're up with the birds." "I am," I said. "I'm doing some spring cleaning. On paper." "You're funny," she said. "Listen, are you coming to the bake sale meeting today?" "Not today," I said. "I have to call my bank." A tiny pause. "Is everything okay?" "I'm just tidying up," I said, drawing some lines in the sand. She laughed. "Oh, boundaries. I know all about those. But don't be too hard on Chloe. Young people say things. They have big dreams and small pockets." "She didn't just say something," I said. "She gave me an invoice." Martha lowered her voice, the way people do when they smell a story. "Do you want me to talk to her? Sometimes a pastor's wife can—" "No," I said. "Thank you, Martha. Not today." "Well, we're all thinking of you," she said. "Don't go making any big decisions all alone." "I won't," I said. "I'll make them with my notes." After we hung up, I wrote notes at the top of a new page and listed what I needed to ask the bank. Then I turned back to the total, to that $300,000. I thought of the day I'd set up the joint account, the one for the house down payment. The bank manager had offered me a bottle of water. I remembered my hand shaking as I signed the forms. My phone buzzed, a message from David. "Hey, Eleanor. Things were tense yesterday. Let's give Chloe some space. Money stress really gets to her. Just let me talk to her." "Okay." I called him. He answered right away. "Hey," he said, his voice soft. "Rough one." "I'll be quick," I said. "I'm fine." "Good," he said. "She is too." "She didn't mean it that way. She's just so stressed about the house. She gets tunnel vision." "I'm not judging," I said. "I'm reviewing." He sighed. "That's the same thing to her." "No, it isn't," I said. "I'm looking at what I have given, so I can decide what I will give." "That is different." He was quiet. "You've given us a lot," he said. "A whole lot." "I'm not arguing," I said. "I'm just taking a breath." "I'll handle her," he said. "Just don't make any sudden moves. She'll just say more things she doesn't mean." "I'm not making moves," I said. "I'm making a map." "Okay," he said, his voice wary. "Okay." When we hung up, I wrote a note in the margin. He's a peacemaker, not a problem solver. I couldn't afford any more peacemaking. I went back to the education pile and made a neat list on the left side of the page year by year. Then I flipped to the home section and wrote the dates next to the amounts. I added a line under the mortgage payments for the months I also covered the utilities, so they wouldn't get a late fee. I couldn't remember the exact amounts, so I just drew little empty boxes. The empty boxes felt right. At noon, my stomach growled. I made a piece of toast with butter, the same lunch I'd had 1,000 times in the teacher's lounge. I ate it standing by the sink. I refused to let myself be distracted. I wanted to feel the weight of the day, slow and purposeful. When I sat back down, I wrote, "Why?" at the top of a fresh page and let the reasons come. Because I love her. Because I wanted her to have an easier start than I did. Because she is my only child. Because I thought money was a tool, not a weapon. Because I wanted to buy her time to be happy. I put the pen down. I picked it back up. I wrote, because I never taught her that no is a form of love too. The sentence sat there, clean and sharp. I let it be. At 1 o'clock, I pulled out another file. the paperwork for the joint savings account. The one with $40,000 in it, waiting for the house on Sycamore Lane. I had opened it when she got married, back when I was afraid of what life might throw at them. I had walked into that bank with a plan. I wrote $40,000, joint account for house down payment. I underlined the words, down payment. Then I underlined them again. The number gave me a place to start. My phone lit up. A text from Chloe. Stop talking to David about this. You're making it a public issue. We will talk when you are ready to be reasonable. I typed, I am being reasonable. I deleted it. I typed, we will talk when you are ready to be respectful. I deleted that too. I put the phone away and wrote, respect, on a sticky note. I stuck it to the top of the legal pad, a tiny yellow flag. By late afternoon, my little table was covered in papers. Folders, bank statements, a calculator I hadn't used. I created a little index in the back of the pad with page numbers for each category, in case I needed to show it to anyone. I didn't want to be flustered. I numbered the page with the grand total and wrote, verify all amounts in parentheses. Then I flipped to a new page and wrote a heading I had never used in my life. My policy. Under it, I wrote 4 rules. 1. Do not give out of guilt. 2. Do not fix problems that are not mine to solve. 3. Do not lend money without a written agreement. 4. Do not apologize for having boundaries. I felt a sense of calm settle over me, the same feeling I used to get after organizing the entire school supply closet, everything in its right place. As the sun started to set, I gathered the papers back into their folders and put them away. I left out just the legal pad and a pen. I washed my mug and plate. Then I sat and looked at the total one last time. Over $300,000. I thought about the other number, the $500,000 it could have been. I didn't let myself feel regret. I just let it be a lesson, quiet and clear. At 5, I moved the phone to the center of the table. I looked at my note from the night before. Call the bank. The branches were closed, but the phone line would be open. My name was on the account. I had been careful about that. I had been generous, yes, but I hadn't been a fool. It was time to stop being so generous. I took a deep breath. I picked up the phone and dialed the number on the back of my debit card. I put it on speaker. A recorded voice started talking. I pressed the number for banking services. Cheerful music filled my small apartment. When a real person finally answered, I sat up a little straighter. Good evening, I said. My name is Eleanor Vance. I have a question about a joint account. I need to know what's required to move funds and how quickly it can be done. Thank you for holding, the man said. With joint accounts, either party has full access to withdraw or transfer the entire balance. I can come in tomorrow morning, I said. The branch on my street opens at 9. I carried my legal pad in my purse like it was a classified document and walked the 4 blocks. A young woman at the door asked if I needed help. I need to speak to a personal banker, I said. She led me to a small desk. A man in a crisp blue shirt smiled. Mrs. Vance, I'm Mr. Davis. How can we help you? His office was tidy, a picture of his family, a nice-looking pen set. I have a joint savings account with my daughter, I said. It was opened as a down payment fund for a house. I want to close that account and transfer the full balance into a new account, in my name only. He typed on his keyboard. I see the account. Before we do that, I just want to be sure. Joint accounts are tricky. Either owner can close one at any time, but it can sometimes cause friction. Are you prepared for that? We can also simply remove her name from the account. I am prepared, I said. I want a new account, my name only. He nodded, his expression unreadable. All right, let me just see your driver's license. He looked at it, then back at the screen. Okay, for our records, the current balance on the joint account is $40,000. The number hung in the air. Yes, I said. That's correct. Are there any automatic payments linked to this account? He asked. Not that I know of, I said. It was just for saving. But I don't want anything funded from it without my direct approval. He steepled his fingers. I understand. Just so you are aware, if there is an automatic draft scheduled, say for a mortgage application fee or something similar, it will be rejected. That will trigger an alert to both account holders. I understand, I said. I will manage my own affairs. He gave me a quick, professional nod. Very well. We'll open a new high-yield savings in your name, transfer the $40,000, and close the joint account. We can also, if you prefer, just leave the joint account open with a zero balance. Close it, I said. He printed out a stack of papers. Initial here, and a full signature here. This one says, you understand your co-owner will no longer have access. This one says, you understand we can't notify her on your behalf. I will notify her, I said. In my own way. He watched as I signed each page. I'll be right back. He walked over to a teller and spoke quietly. I took a deep breath. My hands weren't shaking this time. I thought of my 40 years of work, the neat ledgers, the balanced accounts at the end of every month, the quiet satisfaction of clean lines. He came back with a receipt. The transfer is done, he said. Your new account balance is $40,000. He handed me a small envelope. Here are your temporary deposit slips and online banking information, and here's my card. If your daughter has any questions, we can't discuss your new account, but we can confirm the joint account was closed according to standard procedure. Thank you, I said. He cleared his throat. Mrs. Vance, I hope you don't mind me saying, money is rarely just about money. If this is about setting a boundary, sometimes it's best to be very clear about it, in writing. I will be, I said. I stood up. He walked me to the door. On the sidewalk, the air felt different. My phone buzzed in my purse, then buzzed again. I didn't check it. I wanted to get home first. Back in my apartment, I put the envelope on the table. I took out my legal pad. Under yesterday's to-do list, I wrote, completed, closed joint account, transferred $40,000, new account opened. I drew a firm line under it. Then I wrote, next step, review cosigner agreements. The phone buzzed again, a frantic, angry vibration. 3 texts, one after another, from Chloe. Did you just take all the money out of our account? Chloe. The mortgage application fee was supposed to come out tomorrow. What did you do? Chloe. Mom, answer me. I typed my reply slowly. I have moved the house funds into an account in my name only. That account was for a down payment, not for fees. We can discuss any future assistance on new terms. The little dots that meant she was typing appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. A separate text came in. From David. Hey, the account is empty. The application fee is due. This is a big problem. Can you please put it back? We can talk tonight. I looked at the words, big problem. I didn't feel angry. I felt a quiet click, like a lock settling into place. I called him. He answered in one ring. Eleanor, thank God. If you can just... David, I said. The house fund was always my money. I have secured it. If you have fees due, you will need to find another source. This is a really bad time to prove a point, he said, his voice strained. Chloe is falling apart. The fee will bounce and we'll lose our spot with the lender. It's not a point, I said. It's a fact. You're a cosigner on our apartment, he said. If we default on things, it hurts your credit too. I am a cosigner, I said, not the family bank. If you need a loan, we can write up an agreement. He let out a long, frustrated sigh. Can you just put back enough for the fee? For this month? No, I said. Starting now, money is money, not a feeling. He was quiet. You're creating a crisis. I'm responding to one, I said. Fine, he muttered. I'll figure it out. Thank you, I said. I hung up. 5 minutes later, the phone rang. Chloe, I let it go to voicemail, then a text. You are a cruel, selfish woman. You care more about your stupid lists than about me. If we lose this house, it is your fault. I looked at the message. I set the phone down. I went to the sink and washed my hands, scrubbing them as if I could wash the words away. The afternoon was long. I made a list of every bill I might have helped them with over the years. I drew empty boxes next to them. Then I wrote a new heading, legal. Under it, 3 questions. Am I on the apartment lease as a resident or only a cosigner? If only a cosigner. What are my obligations if they stop paying? What is the quickest way to have my name removed? I sat and looked at those questions. I pulled an old folder from my file box. Apartment documents. Inside was a copy of the lease. I scanned down to the signature page. 3 names. Mine, Chloe's, David's, all listed as tenants. I took a picture of it and emailed it to a local lawyer who had spoken at our church about estate planning. I had kept his card. I wrote, "I am listed as a tenant on my daughter's lease. I need to know my rights and my options for removal." I pressed send. The phone lit up again. "Martha," I answered. "Word travels fast," she said, her voice kind. "David just posted in the church prayer group asking for prayers for a sudden financial hardship. Do you need me to say anything?" "No," I said. "Please don't. I'm handling it." "You know they're going to paint you as the villain in this story," she said softly. "Be prepared for some looks on Sunday." "I won't be at church on Sunday," I said. "I think I need some quiet." She sighed. "Well, you're not alone." "I know," I said. "But for now, I need to be." We hung up. I watched a mail truck make its way down the street. Life was moving on, in its ordinary way, while my own world was shifting. At 3, the lawyer called. "Mrs. Vance, Alan Pierce here. I got your email with the lease. Do you have a moment?" "Yes," I said. "I looked at the document," he said. "You are in fact a full tenant on that lease. You're also a co-signer on the agreement. That means you have both responsibility and leverage. What's going on?" "My daughter told me 2 days ago that the best thing I could do for her was to disappear," I said. "So today I closed a joint account I had funded for her. It appears they were using it for more than just savings." A professional silence on the other end. "I see. I am very sorry you had that experience. Legally, you're in a tough spot. As a tenant, you have a right to occupy the property, but you're also fully liable for the entire rent if they stop paying. We can petition the landlord to have you removed, but they have no obligation to agree, especially if you were part of the initial income qualification. I paid the security deposit and the first 2 months," I said. "I have the check images." "Excellent," he said. "Records are everything. We can build a case. We have 2 options. 1, we can try to negotiate your removal with the landlord, offering them a lump sum to release you from the contract. 2, if they fall behind on rent and you are forced to pay, we can sue them for the amount you covered. Given what you've told me, I suggest we send a formal letter to your daughter and her husband, and to the landlord. The letter will state your intention to be removed from the lease and will formally request that all financial obligations be transferred to them. They will say I'm trying to make them homeless," I said. "The letter will be professional and boring," he said. "No emotion, just dates and contract clauses." "Let me write it." "Do I have to let them stay if they stop paying?" I asked. "If you are a tenant and they default," he said, "you can pay the rent to protect your credit, and then we can start eviction proceedings against them to get them out so you can mitigate your losses. It's not fast, but it's a real option. A judge will take you seriously if your records are clean." My phone buzzed again as he was talking. I ignored it. "What are your fees?" I asked. "We'll keep it simple," he said. "We start with the letter. If they agree, it's simple. If they fight it, we talk." "All right," I said. "Write the letter." "Send me your records of payments you've made on their behalf," he said. "And Mrs. Vance, do not get into long arguments over text. Short answers or no answers. Your feelings are not legally binding. Your documents are." "I can do that," I said. We hung up. I pulled the lease copy out and put it in a clean plastic sleeve. I labeled it. Lease, Chloe and David. Then I opened my pad and wrote a new line. Tenant, cosigner, responsible. A door slammed somewhere in the building. The sound rattled a glass in my cupboard. The day felt both terrible and full of possibility. At 4, the first alert hit my phone from the bank. An automated message about the failed mortgage fee. I watched it come in, then a text, not from the bank, from Chloe. "You embarrassed me," the lender called. "They know the fee bounced. Fix this," I typed. "I am available to discuss this in writing with a clear plan. I will not send money on demand." She replied instantly, "You are dead to me." I set the phone on the table. I picked up my pen. I wrote her words down on a clean page. I found that writing it down kept it from echoing in my head. At 5, I walked to the mailbox. My neighbor was out trimming his roses. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Everything is becoming clear," I said. He gave me a puzzled look. I kept walking. When I got back, I laid out every document the lawyer might need. Proof of the $40,000 in the account, the $18,000 in mortgage help, the $5,000 for dental work, the small scattered receipts for everything else. I took pictures of everything and sent them in an email with the subject line, "Vance Documentation." He replied in minutes. "Got it. This is a strong file. I'll draft the letter tonight." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I felt the small thrill of taking a first step on a new path. At 6, a final text from David. "I moved money around. I covered the fee this month. Next month is a problem. Please don't do this. There are no winners in a war." I replied once. "I am not at war. I am enforcing a contract that was never written down. You are welcome to propose one." He sent one word back. Cold. I didn't reply. I made a simple dinner, an omelet and a piece of toast. I ate at the table, my papers pushed to one side. I washed my plate. Then I sat and reread my 4 rules. I added a 5th. Do not discuss finances over the phone. I underlined it. Dusk settled. I turned on my lamp and wrote a note to myself. You can be both loving and firm. I set down the pen. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Mrs. Vance, Alan Pierce. I've drafted the letter. It's ready to go. One more thing. Given that you're on the lease, if they refuse to cooperate and rent payments become an issue, we can petition the court to grant you sole possession pending their removal. It's an aggressive move, but it is possible." The air in the room felt suddenly different. "You're saying I could take over the apartment?" "I'm saying," he replied, his voice calm and precise, "that in your case you can reclaim your financial safety." The insurance office was quiet. I slid my license across the counter. "I need to change the beneficiary on my life insurance policy," I said. The agent typed, his face neutral. "Current beneficiary is your daughter, Chloe. New designation?" "The Community Children's Fund," I said. "Primary." She nodded. "Reason for the change? I am aligning my assets with my values," I said. "That is the reason." Forms were printed. I read every line before I initialed. The agent stamped the final page with a heavy, satisfying thud. "Effective immediately," he said. "You'll get a confirmation in the mail." I walked out into the sunshine. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I just felt level. At home, a courier envelope was waiting. The lawyer's letter, 3 copies, one for them, one for me, one for him. No emotion, just dates, amounts, and options. Cooperate in removing my name from the lease, or I will pursue legal remedies. My phone rang before I finished reading it. David. I let it go to voicemail. "June," he said, his voice strained. I saw a draft of the letter. Chloe showed me. "This is too much. Let's slow down. Don't send it. Give me a month. I can try to get refinanced on the lease, get you off, and we can talk about the money later. We don't need lawyers. We just need to breathe. Always reasonable, always later." I called him back. He answered immediately. "Thank you," he said, as if I'd already caved. "A month is another way to do nothing," I said. "The letter is being sent today." "You're going to ruin our lives," he said. "I'm not asking you to move out," I said. "I'm asking you to take responsibility." "We are trying," he said. "We're just not doing it on your timetable." "Then choose to sign the papers," I said. "That is a responsible choice." A long silence. "You don't have to be this cold. I have to be this clear," I said. We hung up. I put my copy of the letter in a new sleeve, lines on paper, lines in the sand. I opened my windows. The apartment took a deep breath. I made tea and wrote legacy on a new page in my pad. I drew 2 columns, what I can control and what I cannot. Under can, I wrote my will, my time, my tone, my choices. Under cannot, I wrote their choices. I called Alan back. "One more thing. I need to update my will. I'll connect you with a colleague, he said. You're thinking of a living trust. Charity as the main beneficiary. Small, specific gifts if you want. Yes, I said. Clean. No strings. Good, he said. And Mrs. Vance, good boundaries have a way of lasting. An hour later, I was sitting across from a woman who specialized in estate planning. She listened, she nodded, and we built it. A living trust. Healthcare proxy. A letter of intent to the Children's Fund about a small scholarship for arts programs. We put a gift for Chloe in there, yes. But it was in a trust, to be managed by a third party. A small seed, not an open faucet. If you change your mind, she said, it's easy to amend. I've been changing my mind my whole life, I said. This is me deciding. On the walk home, I saw my neighbor Martha. I wasn't sure I'd catch you, she said. I'm here, I said. I heard words like lawyer and letter, she said. You don't have to tell me a thing. I just brought you this. She handed me a small bag of muffins. Thank you. You could come on the seniors' trip next month, she said. We're going to the coast for a long weekend. Quiet town, clean air, nice little shops. Gentle. Gentle sounds nice, I said. We go through a good agency, she added. They handle everything. If you wanted to add a few days on your own, they can arrange it. Sometimes distance is the only thing that helps when people are pulling at you. Distance is a new idea for me, I said. Good, she said. Use it. Back in my apartment, I put the muffins on the counter. I put the travel brochure on my fridge with a magnet. The picture showed a rocky coastline and a calm sea. My phone pinged. A new tone from Chloe. Got the letter, she wrote. This is just you trying to hurt us. This is revenge. I typed, I am protecting my finances. Please have your response sent through the proper channels. She replied, we don't need channels. I need a mother. I set the phone down. I ate a muffin. A new text from an unknown number. Mrs. Vance, this is the travel agency. Martha said you might be interested in our coastal trip. We have one spot left, leaving in 2 weeks. Single room available. 2 weeks. I looked at the legal documents. I looked at the brochure. I thought about my policy. Do not give out of guilt. Do not fix what is not mine. I called the agency. Tell me about the trip, I said. She went through the details. I could hear my own breathing in the quiet of my apartment. I'll take the single room, I said, and add 3 extra days at the end. Wonderful, she said. I read her my information. When we were done, I called the courier service the lawyer used. I have an envelope to be delivered, I said. We can have someone there in an hour, the dispatcher said. I sealed the envelope with the letter to Chloe and David. I wrote their names on it in my neatest script. I stood by the door for a long minute. This wasn't anger. This was clarity. David called again. I answered. Please, he said, his voice low. Don't send it. I can make it work. You can make it work now, I said. You can sign the papers. You're leaving, he said. Martha mentioned a trip. You're going to run away and throw grenades from a distance. I'm going to walk on a beach, I said. I'm going to breathe air that doesn't have a price tag. I know you helped us, he said, his voice softer. I know you did. I still care, I said. That's why I'm putting the caring in writing. It makes it real. You think we're going to fight you just to spite you? He asked. I think you will do whatever allows you to avoid making a hard choice, I said. The letter removes the delay. That's cruel, he said. It's clear, I said. I hung up. I printed my trip itinerary. I pulled my old suitcase from the closet. The courier knocked. I handed him the envelope. Have a good night, he said. You too, I said. When the door closed, my phone buzzed. The insurance company. Beneficiary change confirmed. I opened the attachment. My name, the policy number, the new beneficiary. It looked like a map to a new place. I turned off the lights and stood by the window as the sky darkened. My computer chimed. A new email. Your flight is confirmed. I packed carefully. Copies of the trust and the will went in a pouch. My passport, walking shoes, one good book. At the airport, my phone buzzed and buzzed. I put it face down on the seat next to me. On a fresh page in a new notebook, I wrote my rules for the trip. 1. No financial discussions via text. 2. No decisions made under pressure. 3. Respond only to good faith questions. A baby was crying a few rows away. A man was arguing with an airline employee. My boarding group was called. As I walked down the jet bridge, Chloe called. I let it go to voicemail. A text from David came through. "We'll sort this out when you're back. Don't do this." I put the phone in airplane mode and felt a weight lift from my shoulders. A woman my age sat next to me on the plane. "Traveling solo?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Me too," she smiled. "I'm Susan." "Eleanor," I said. We talked for a little while. The plane took off. Clouds rushed past the window. When we landed, the air smelled of salt and pine. The hotel was small and quiet, right on the water. My room was simple, with a small balcony overlooking the rocky shore. I unpacked and went for a walk. The ocean was a deep, calming blue. I didn't think about money for a full 5 minutes. My mind felt quiet, the way a classroom does after the final bell. In a small shop, I saw a beautiful hand-knitted scarf, the color of the sea. I bought it. "For you?" the shopkeeper asked. "For me?" I said. "Good," she said. "You look like you deserve something warm." Back at the hotel, I checked my email. A confirmation from the courier. Delivered. A note from Alan. Served. A final note from the travel agent. The rental car for your extra days is confirmed. I wrote the confirmation number in my notebook. Then I went out to my balcony. Today, I wrote, I did not solve a single problem for anyone else. The world did not end. My phone vibrated. I had turned airplane mode off. The texts flooded in. Chloe, you actually left. Mark, the letter is a declaration of war. Chloe again. Everyone knows now. You have no shame. I read them. Then I answered both of them with one text. Please direct all lease-related questions to my attorney. I will not be discussing it further. Then I put the phone on silent and put it in my hotel room safe. At dinner, I sat by myself. I met Susan there. May I? She asked, gesturing to the empty chair. Please, I said. People tell strangers things they can't tell anyone else, she said. Want to try? I'm practicing being quiet, I said. That's a truth, she grinned. Okay, I'll start. I spent my whole life being the person who fixes everything for everyone. I'm here for a week to learn how to let other people find their own screwdrivers. That's a good lesson, I said. And you? She asked. I'm learning that no can be a complete sentence, I said, and that my peace is not for sale. She nodded. Write that down, she said, so you don't forget it. I already did, I said. In the morning, we walked with the group along the cliffs. The air was crisp. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. At the top of a hill, I looked out at the ocean. I just breathed. Back at the hotel, there was a voicemail from Alan. They have retained counsel, he said. That's a good thing. It means they're taking it seriously. Expect a response soon. Do not engage. Document everything. Enjoy your trip. I texted him back. Received. At 4 o'clock, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea. I opened my notebook and wrote a letter I knew I would never send. Dear Chloe, I wrote, I love you. That has never been the issue. But my love is not a blank check. My support is not an inheritance you get while I'm still alive. I am learning the difference between helping you and harming us both. I closed the book. I washed my face and put on my new scarf. My phone buzzed on the table. A long text from Chloe. A wall of gray I didn't read. I went downstairs. The world was going on without me. It was a relief. The next morning brought a formal email from Alan. Their lawyer's response. A lot of blustering, a lot of accusations. They requested a 90-day delay. I answered with 2 words, no delay. If a default notice comes from the landlord, the clock starts. 30 days to pay or vacate. It's a process, not an attack. Don't let them scare you. I wrote process not attack in my notebook. The next day, I answered a call from David. Please, he said, just give us time. Time is what got us here, I said. Sign the papers. You used to be so kind, he said. I still am, I said. This is what my kindness looks like now. He hung up on me. By the end of the week, the whispers had crossed the country. An email from a friend at church. I'm praying for you all. This must be so hard. I didn't answer. Susan, seeing the look on my face at breakfast, just pushed a scone across the table. Courage, she said. An afternoon was free. I rented a car and drove down the coast. I found a quiet beach and sat on a rock, watching the waves. I took out my notebook and read my rules aloud to the ocean. Do not give out of guilt. Do not fix what is not mine. Do not lend without terms. Do not apologize for boundaries. Do not discuss finances over the phone. I added a new one. Do not explain my no to people who don't want to hear it. That evening, I got a notification. It was from the apartment building's management company, an email sent to all 3 tenants on the lease. A first notice. Rent past due. Please remit payment to avoid further action. I forwarded it to Alan. His reply was immediate. Don't pay. Let them respond. The next morning, a folder was slipped under my hotel room door. A printout of Alan's latest email. Subject, notice of default. The landlord had sent a formal letter. 30 days. The word eviction was used, not as a threat, as a procedure. I sat on the edge of the bed and waited for the panic. It came, but it was small and manageable. I opened my notebook. A procedure has begun, I wrote. I will follow my own. Chloe's text came an hour later. They're going to evict us because of you. Are you happy now? The old guilt pulled at me. I let it pull. I didn't answer. I went downstairs. The tour group was leaving for a boat trip. I joined them. Out on the water, with the wind and the spray, I felt a little more free. Tell me something true that isn't about them, Susan said, handing me a cup of coffee. The sea is very big, I said, and I am very small. A good start? She said. At lunch, I texted Alan. If I pay to avoid the credit hit, I want it in writing. He replied, yes, but we don't offer. They have to ask. And they have to sign an agreement to repay. If they refuse, we let the process continue. In the afternoon, Martha called. The prayer requests are getting dramatic, she said. I'm not saying anything, I said. Good, she said. Also, I miss you. Come help me organize the food pantry when you get back. Cans don't have opinions. Cans are my favorite, I said. She laughed. I know. Evening brought a text from David, a different tone. I'm sorry. Let me talk to your lawyer. Let's work this out. I forwarded it to Alan. I'll invite him to call, he wrote back. No more back channels. That night, another email from the landlord. Intent to file for eviction if rent is not paid in full within 10 business days. The steps were laid out, cold and clear. I appreciated the clarity. I sent it to Alan. He called me. This is it, he said. We either get a signed agreement from them to vacate and release you, or we let the eviction proceed. If you pay the rent, we require a signed repayment plan and their immediate agreement to vacate. Don't trade your leverage for a temporary fix. Understood, I said. Are you all right? He asked. I am with my notebook on a balcony overlooking the ocean, I said. He chuckled. Good. I'll be ready for their call. I stood at the window, watching the lights twinkle across the water. The next morning, a text from my neighbor back home. An envelope from the court was taped to your door. I asked her to send me a photo. The words were formal. Unlawful detainer. An eviction had been filed. Chloe's message came at the same time. You're evicting us. I looked at the photo of the court document. I read the date the rent was due. I read the part that said who was responsible. Then I answered my daughter. No, I wrote. Your choices are. I flew home feeling lighter than I had in years. The apartment was quiet. I put the blue folder on the table. Alan called. The court date is in 3 weeks, he said. They can pay in full any time before then to stop it. If they ask you for money, we require signatures on the repayment and the agreement to vacate. No money without paper, I said. They haven't called, he added. A lot of angry texts, but no call. I made tea. On my notepad, I wrote, 3 weeks. Under it, I wrote, breathe, document, stay the course. My neighbors were curious. One caught me by the mailboxes. We're praying for you, she said. Such a hard time. Thank you, I said, and kept walking. I would not be the neighborhood soap opera. Chloe texted every day. You could make this stop. You don't love your grandchildren. I answered once. Please direct all legal matters to Alan Pierce. And then I stopped answering at all. David tried one last time. I can pay half, he texted. Just trust me. I sent it to Alan. No, he replied. 2 days before the court date, my doorbell rang. It was Martha with a bag of groceries. Oranges, she said. And one more thing. You're not doing this to them. You're doing it for you. And that's okay. Thank you, I said. The court date was a rainy Tuesday. I didn't go. Alan went for me. At noon, he called. They didn't show up, he said. The judge issued a default judgment for the landlord. They have 5 days to pay or vacate. A sheriff will post the notice tomorrow. Do I have to see them? I asked. No, he said. A date is set. A lock is changed. They will likely be gone before the sheriff has to physically remove them. He was right. 2 mornings later, I saw the moving truck from my window. I drove past on my way to the grocery store. I parked across the street and just watched. Boxes, furniture, the life they had built, packed up. David moved quickly, his face a grim mask. Chloe stood on the lawn, talking on her phone, a shield against the world. The rose bushes I'd helped her plant were in full bloom. I felt a pang, a desire to say, prune them back hard in the fall. I stayed in the car. A neighbor saw me. He pointed. Chloe's head snapped up. Her eyes found mine. She walked over, her steps slow. Are you happy now? She asked. No, I said, my voice quiet. This was an accident. There are no accidents with you, she said, only plans. I made plans because no one else would, I said. Now you have to make yours. You could have paid the rent, she said. 1 month was never 1 month, I said. It's a lifetime of months. She made a sound, half laugh, half sob. I got a job, she said suddenly. A real one. Receptionist at a doctor's office. It's a start. I'm glad, I said. Work is good. David is driving for a rideshare service, she said, her chin high. That's a choice, I said. Choices are good. She just stared at me. You didn't have to do this, she said again, quieter this time. I waited 40 years, I said. I am done waiting. She stepped back. Don't call, she said. I need time. I won't, I said. It's better this way. She turned and walked back to the truck. I put the car in gear and drove away. At home, I washed my hands. Then I took out my notepad and wrote, They are moving. I am not. That evening, Alan called. The landlord confirmed they vacated. The locks are changed. The judgment against all 3 of you will be on your credit report, but we can work to have it removed for you, since you are not residing there. It will take time. I understand time, I said. I am good at waiting. Days passed. I went for walks. I helped Martha at the food pantry. The gossip died down. One afternoon, I drove by the old apartment. Someone else's curtains were in the window. The roses had been pruned. I felt a wave of relief. Homes need to be cared for. It didn't have to be me. Chloe's text changed. We found a place. It's small. Then, my first day was okay. Then, the kids missed the yard. I didn't write back, but in my notebook I put a little check mark next to each one. Adults making adult decisions. A month later, a thick envelope came from Alan's office, a settlement from the landlord. They had re-rented the apartment quickly and were returning my full security deposit. I opened it, a check for $4,000. I wrote it in my notebook and underlined it. Small mercies. Alan called. One last thing, he said. I have a friend who is a publisher. She heard a version of your story. She thinks other people need to hear it, a story about boundaries. Would you ever consider writing it? I don't want revenge, I said. Good, she said. We don't publish revenge. We publish roadmaps. You can change all the names. Just tell the truth. I'll think about it, I said. After we hung up, I wrote book on a sticky note and put it on my desk. That evening, a text from David. I heard you got the deposit back. You're doing fine. Why did you have to hurt us so much? I didn't answer. The map had no road that led backward. Another text. We're okay. The kids are adjusting. I put a check mark next to it in my notebook. I met Susan for lunch. She was in town visiting family. Tell me something true, she said. My hands don't shake when the phone rings, I said. That's everything, she said. Both are good, I said. The paper and the piece. That night, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't have saved. A text from Martha. I gave someone your number. I hope that's okay. Another text came through. Mrs. Vance, this is Pastor John. Chloe asked if I would reach out. She's wondering if you'd be willing to have coffee. Me, you, and her. No money talk. Just coffee. I stared at the screen. I looked at the rules taped to the wall next to my desk. I looked at the blue folder, now thin and tidy. The phone buzzed again. If not, the pastor added, that's okay too. Your choice. I read his message again. I texted back. 1 hour, public place. No money talk. If the rule is broken, I leave. He replied, agreed. The coffee shop was bright and noisy. I got there early. Pastor John came first. Thank you for this, he said. Thank you for the rules, I said. Chloe came in right on time. She looked tired, but clearer. She didn't sit down right away. She just stood by the table. You look okay, I said. It was true. We found a place near the school, she said, like she was giving a report. Okay, I said. The pastor said I could say one thing, she said. She looked at him. He nodded. She looked at a plant in the corner. I am sorry, she said, for the words I used. They were ugly. Thank you, I said. And you? She asked. She looked at the pastor. He reminded her gently. Impact, not invoices. She swallowed. What you did. It felt like you were trying to destroy us. I know you'll say that wasn't it. But that's how it felt. That's a fair thing to say, I said. Feelings are real, even if they aren't the whole story. Fine, she said. Your turn. I folded my hands. My love for you has never been the issue, I said, but I let my money get tangled up in my love. I am sorry for my part in that. I am not sorry for turning off the faucet. It was drowning us both. She blinked, fast. Okay, she said. I will not be a secret line in your budget anymore, I said. I will not be your emergency plan. That door is closed. I hear you, she said. I will see my grandchildren, I said, but with no strings attached. We can plan it. A set time, a public place. If money is mentioned, the visit is over. We can try again the next week. I can do that, she said. They miss you. I miss them, I said. One more thing. If you want my advice, you have to ask for it, and I won't offer it if you don't. That would be nice, she said, and it sounded like she meant it. Your morning texts always felt like a test. I wake up early, I said. I can write in my journal instead. She let out a small breath. Okay. I'm sorry for one more thing, I said, for teaching you that my love always came with a yes. She nodded. I learned that lesson too well, she said. Pastor John slid a napkin across the table. Why don't you write down what you're agreeing to? He asked. I wrote, park visits, 1 hour, no money talk. I pushed it to her. She wrote, no surprise calls for money, ask for advice, and accept no as an answer. We both looked at the napkin. A tiny contract. Good, he said. A start. I don't know how to be with you without asking for things, she said, so quiet I could barely hear her. I'll learn. I don't know how to be with you without giving things, I said. I'll learn too. She stood up. I have to get the kids. Thank you for not yelling. Thank you for being on time, I said. We walked out together, then went our separate ways. Back home, I wrote the new rules on an index card and taped it to the wall. The first Sunday at the park was awkward, then better. The kids ran to me. We played I Spy. Chloe sat on a bench, watching. At the 58-minute mark, she said, "Can I ask you something that's not about money?" "Yes," I said. "The kids' school needs a volunteer reader next month. Would you?" "I would love that," I said. "Send me the date." The second Sunday, it rained. We met at the library. She handed me a coffee. She said she was taking a night class to get a certificate in medical billing. "It's boring," she said. "Boring is good," I said. She looked at me, and for the first time, there was no anger in her eyes. "You won't offer to pay for it," she said. It wasn't a question. "I'll bring cookies next week," I said. She almost smiled. "Fine." After she left, I walked home. I took out my notebook, the one from my trip. On a clean page, I didn't write numbers. I wrote verbs. Walk, read, cook, rest, write. A few days later, a contract came from the publisher. "Working title," it said with a blank line. I thought about the ledgers, the files, the letters. I wrote back, "Working title, A Ledger of Love." She replied with one word, "Perfect." Mr. Pierce sent one last email. "Documents are better than drama." I went to the food pantry. We sorted rice into bags. "Your face has changed," Martha said. "I'm not flinching anymore," I said. The third Sunday, Erin handed me a drawing from her daughter. It was me, as a stick figure, holding a book. She said she had an A on her last test in her night class. "Good," I said. "That's very good." She looked at me, really looked at me. "I can't promise I won't ever need help," she said. "But I can promise I will ask, not demand." "I can't promise I won't want to help," I said. "But I can promise I will ask if it's needed, not assume." She nodded. "Okay." We walked to the corner. The day was bright. At home, I moved the rules card over an inch. I wrote a new line underneath. "Love is a gift. Help is a contract." I set the pen down. The room was full of quiet, afternoon light. The locks on my door were strong, and the door itself was wide open. If this story touched your heart, I hope you'll come back for tomorrow's. I tell a new story every single day. Make sure you follow and click that little bell so you don't miss it. And if you'd like to hear another surprising story right now, you can click on one of the videos you see on the screen. Thank you for being here with me.